This is one of those Arnie, I'll be back moments. Good afternoon and welcome to Turbo Tortoise Tech. If you're new here, I'm Reese of the 4-piece Ryanty or Wookie Triple XL. And this is such a comeback to form for Antec. And as an old Antec 900 owner and user, I'm just really thrilled to see a comeback to form like this, where everything has been made rather intelligently, and this is genuinely a 9 out of 10 product. And this is one point because there's just one thing missing from this overall product. But in general, the price and performance over here is exceptional from Antec. They really have gone out of just making good budget cases into making really considerably good premium cases that are going to or should be on your radar, hopefully, after this review. So we have the Performance 1 FT over here with its three 140mm fans up front, which if you know me, is just scratching the right edge just in the right way. A built-in 120mm fan at the back as well, and then a nice big open top for either 360, 280 or 240mm cooling. And you can even do three 140s up top over here. They've really significantly over-dimensioned this in just all of the right ways and made it really easy to use. Pretty much everything is either on push button type setups like the side panel over here, which is just lift off like that, no rails or anything to get in the way with you putting it on nice and straight. It's literally just these two little push points over here and then a screw at the back to hold it on when you aren't using it, and two little shelf extras with rubberizing on the inside over here. It's like the bullet point of the presentation for this case. In general, everything's been set up like that just to make it like so much easier. And like I say, fan dimensioning is in a little bit of the overkill area. There are three 120mm fan clearance areas over here at the bottom. Not that you're really going to use the back one because your power supply is going to be there, but you could have two 140s or two full spectrum like 120s pushing up into the GPU over here. So all of that nice fresh air coming from the front can then get shoved into the GPU if you really need to. But there's three 140mm spaces at the front, 120 is available as well. Three 140mm spaces up top. So if we do see someone create, I mean, quick maths, what is that? Like a 420, a 420mm radiator that you could put it across the top over here, then this case would have function for that. Open loop kits as well, because of how much clearance it is, you can see that the 3070 Ti just disappears in here. It's like absolutely tiny. For this case, it's got 400 mils worth of GPU clearance. So it's been made for more premium setups and builds in general, but it doesn't really demand like that $5,000 price point that you normally see on a case like this. Anywho, let's start off with what's in the box, because it comes with an incredibly sick package. You get a really cool little sorter, which I'm gonna get quickly.
12 seconds later.
Here it is over here with all the other stuff. I mean, you get some Velcro, extra Velcro straps and some cable ties and such. These are just the two covers that for the PCI Express that I had to take out over there. But this is so sick that they include something as simple as this. It probably cost them 20 Rand, like $1 maybe, to include something like this, but it's extremely useful because it's got little dividers that you can add and subtract over there, and then it comes with obviously all the screws and stuff you need, but you can sort them by type so that you don't have to go scrounging through a bunch of other screws to find the ones that you need. And it comes with a couple of spare little grommets for the port protectors on the top over here, which I'll show you in just a moment. So nice little included kit, but let's have a look at the case and its layout and format. So as I said, three 140s up front with a full mesh front panel as well. So there's basically no resistance over there. It should be more than 80% clear, so it's not really gonna detract from the cooling performance, as you'll see when the data comes out. Then the internal area is extremely broad and open. It's been made for EATX. There's really good clearance as well behind it over here for the cooling. So where the cooling sits behind it is extremely good clearance over there, so that you can build it out in front of your motherboard if you want to and do a full push-pull type setup, as I indicated, for open loop kits, etc. It's going to work actually quite well from that facet. And then we have around the bottom a full open mesh type system over there, so that the power supply can get all of the airflow and cooling it needs. And it's got standoffs as well, so it is raised about a good 20 millimeters over here at the back, so that air can once again flow in where it needs to. The back panel is a masterclass. It's a glass back panel over there, but it's got an incredibly nice cover, which is going to help us give it a very neat looking effect. And underneath that, it's got 3 sets of Velcro strapping points and a bunch of other little strapping points along the case. Along the back right as well, you will be noticing another set of straps, and that's for the CPU power, so that you can strap that up alongside the case without having to use any cable ties. And that's really the idea over here, is to make it a cable tie free experience where possible, and then they give you some extra cable ties if you do need them. The top I/O and the panel that sits over here on the top left is super cool as well. The very top button above those ports you'll see over there is actually to switch between different modes for the LCD screen, which is at the top, which shows you your CPU and GPU temp, which is just a cool little add-on that they've got over there. But I love those little rubber grommets that they've put in. They've got there for the Type-C, the 2 USB 3s, and then for the combi jack, the 3-in-1. So you've got your stereo headset and your microphone all plugging in to that one connection. Now, something that's kind of unique about this is the fans, and there's a special attention to this that made them 10 mils thicker than average. These are 30mm or 3 centimeter thick boys that they have for the 140s and the 120 at the back, and they even have that as part of their model number of 1430, I believe, and then 12030 and 14030 on these fans, so you know that they are 30mm thick. And they've gone for a hybrid type fan design where they've got bigger blades but a slightly higher count of them as well, to give you the mixture between air pressure and then airflow performance. So these can even be used on radiators and stuff, I would say. Probably pretty handily. They're going to have pretty good pressure to push through the radiator as well. And they get quite loud as well. They can be quite noisy boys. At 50%, it's a quiet hum, basically what you're hearing. Now, that I think the threshold where they turn off is about 30 to 40% power, which is why we don't have a test at 25%, because they actually just turn off. But at 50%, they are quite quiet. 75, things get to an audible hum at about the low 50s, and then yeah, at full chat, you scraping 60 decibel, which is like quite loud. It's coming to a pool pump kind of level. Now, obviously, nobody wants to have a pool pump on their table, and you guys want to have normalized sort of fan curves, which is what I shot for with the first set of testing. If we look at the ADA64 results, you are going to see a couple of degree increase versus open air, and in general, that's kind of what I'm used to seeing with the CPU, it being our hottest boy, and the 240mm rad on it is, I would say, borderline spec for this, because it's 200 watts worth of cooling versus a 200 watt cooler. I actually need to upgrade that and get a 360 so that it's over that performance threshold, and maybe we'll get a little bit more delimited data from that. But it's about a 3 to 4 degree increase, which on that level is less than 5%, you know, over 84%, 4 degrees would be a 5% increase. So it's very much in line, even just with versus an open air, which is always generally going to be better. And I say that with kind of like a pinch of salt being added to that, because I noticed when I did the 100% fan curve test, it actually got worse somehow on the CPU side. But on the GPU side, we had 98.4 for both the open air and then the closed test, so no real difference until I maxed the fan out, and then it saw a full percentage increase on that time spa stress test. So there is an exceptionally good amount of airflow coming in through the front of the case when you put it on 100% fan curve, and that's without the CPU fans extracting it 100%. So it's just this extraction kit or this extracting fan at the back on the 120, but those 3 140s up front are so powerful that they can increase the performance by that sort of margin on average. So where you're going to kind of tune it to is probably just in that 60% sort of fan curve range, and then you are going to literally have better than open air performance for your GPU. So if you've got a 360mm rad up top with those 140s pushing in, you're going, and on your whatever CPU you have, it's gonna work. You're going to get almost like open air cooling without like increasing a massive amount of noise. And I think that's just attributed to how they've done that front panel, which is also incredibly easy to access. It's just a couple of magnets and that comes out. Same thing with this, with the side panels. Same thing with the cable cover along the back. It literally just sits on some rails, one screw pops out, and you've got full access, which I absolutely love. They've made it incredibly easy to work inside of this case as well. And so at 3,000 Rand price point on Uncle Evetech, it's looking like really competitive. I mean, in premium case space, you don't really get cable covers and full glass double side panels and 3 140mm fans at that sort of price point. There's nothing really on the store that has as much as that. The Deep Cools come close with their digital series. I mean, it's got that really cool readout on top, as I've shown you over there. It does, unfortunately though, have a 00 if it hits 100 degrees. So it's not really equipped for doing full 3-digit plus decimal point, but 2-digit plus decimal point, which is where we hope to keep our stuff when we're gaming and such. I mean, the ADA is a synthetic workload. It's like a render plus even workload. It uses more instruction sets than most renders and stuff do. So yeah, it's a very, very overkill test. But even with that being considered, it still ran pretty damn well. And I love that little digital readout and the fact that I can just switch between the two, and the software to run it is nice and clean. It's just very basic and straightforward. Shows you the basics from your VRAM usage or your core temp usage, etc., etc. And it's a nice little application that doesn't really interfere with anything else. And so overall, I give it a 9 out of 10. And the only reason it didn't get 10 out of 10, and it's kind of just like the only thing that it was missing was a GPU sag bracket. And I would have liked to have seen that on the back panel with a dual type of slot design, depending on the obviously the length of your GPU, etc., that you would want to put into this. A lot of people just want a big case because it does help with airflow. Just having more space just means more air can flow through the environment. So it is very good for that. This GPU does come with its own sag bracket, and a lot of premium GPUs do. So it's not really the end of the world, but it would have been nice. That's the only thing that this case needs. Otherwise, it's basically perfect. Everything that I want to see on a newer, modern, more performant, higher performing case, like 140mm intake fans, it's present here. And you can do 140mm on top. So if you want to do like a really overkill, nocturnal, be quiet type setup with like, or even a deep cool AK620 kind of setup, like air cooled in this environment, it's gonna work because of the way that they've done the dimensioning, because of how broad the case is as well. It can take quite a tall boy. So they've really done a good job of that. The Garrett's as well, and that like indented type style for you to run your cables on the back and be able to strap them down with a couple bits of Velcro in a few seconds. It took me to get it as neat as that, and put the cover over it, and then you don't see any of that through that back panel. It's just sick. Everything else in this is exactly what we want to see from a modern case design. Add-ons like the little covers for the IO on top like that, and that little cigarette holder. I use a cigarette tin, okay, to hold screws. That's where my brain went. I don't smoke cigarettes. It's bad for you. Don't do it yourself, kids. Anyway, the screw holder is perfect. It's wonderful little add-ons like that that just make a premium case feel more premium. Everything on this otherwise is, I gotta say, 10 out of 10. Just please, next one, include a GPU sag bracket that's inside the case, that's like a little bit hidden behind there, so I don't have to put a big one in. Sorry, Thor, I keep smashing you in the face. But just include a GPU sag bracket, and then this thing's literally 10 out of 10. Anywho, that's all I have for you on the Antec Performance 1 FT. If you have enjoyed this review, please hit us up with a like and subscribe, and I will see you on the flip side.
One day, it's not gonna